Joining us, the temperatures have dropped, meaning that summer already feels like a lifetime ago. But have you found yourself down in the dumps since the weather changed?
Well, counselling psychologist Sinead Lynch joins us with advice if you've already been suffering from the winter blues. Good morning to you, Sinead.
Morning.
Hi, guys.
This is good timing, actually, because the Walk in My Shoes week starts tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
And we were discussing it yesterday. What is S.A.D, first of all?
Okay, so S.A.D is seasonal affective disorder, or sometimes referred to as seasonal depressive disorder. So it's a type of depression. You do have to be diagnosed with it. So we'll talk about symptoms. Usually people have to have at least 5 symptoms, and they have to feel it for at least 2 weeks. So we can all feel blue or down, or sometimes S.A.D is referred to as winter blues.
Yeah.
And it affects about 1 in 15 people. But really, I suppose the thing about seasonal affective disorder is when you feel really debilitated and you can't get out and you feel quite depressed, maybe from September to April. So it's quite different to feeling gloomy about not having a summer anymore.
What are the reasons behind it? Is it literally the change in weather, the lack of daylight and the coldness, or...?
Yeah, so I suppose it is related. It can be triggered by a chemical imbalance in your brain. So the hypothalamus looks after our body clock, and our body clock is what helps us, produce melatonin and sleep. When there's not enough light, we overproduce melatonin. So what happens then is that we feel very sleepy and we feel quite groggy, and our appetite changes and our mood changes. And also melatonin inhibits the production of serotonin, which is the happy hormone. So I suppose what I'm saying is that we nearly go into hibernation mode, but we're not bears. So it doesn't sit well with us. We feel gloomy. So some of the symptoms are that you feel really irritable, you feel really kind of angry, you're not getting on with people, your appetite changes, you could be eating more, you could be sleeping more. It's everything that's nearly geared up to winter. But as I said, we don't live in a society where we can just hibernate away for 6 months.
Of course, because I think some people would look at that list and think, well, I've had a few of those this week.
Yes.
But I suppose if you have multiples of them on a regular basis.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same thing as depression, that when you get diagnosed with maybe more chronic depression, it has to be at least 5 things, and for 2 weeks solid. So it could be a heaviness in your body as well, a physical weight in your arms and your legs. As I said, the change in appetite, more sleep, irritable, notice your mood. And if you feel that way all the time, so you notice that sometimes you can have a bad day, but once you feel happy, you're like, okay, well, actually, that's a change.
One of the other symptoms you have, Sinead, is hypersensitivity to rejection.
Yes.
So this feeling of being very vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable, or else you can kind of feel judged, or you can feel rejection stronger. So you're feeling in general, as you said, vulnerable. So you're just not feeling like I'm getting on with people, and hence fights and things like that.
It's interesting that you mentioned depression, because a lot of people would bandy about the term and say, oh, I'm depressed because this didn't work, that didn't work, in the same way of, oh, I'm sad. But actually, it is, as you said, a medical term, and you have to be diagnosed by a professional.
Yeah, and you go to your GP if you're worried about it, but you can do psychotherapy, you can get medication, of course, that will change that chemical imbalance, or light boxes. So there's lots of light boxes.
But most of us would just have the winter blues and would get them from time to time. It's a long stretch, and we don't have we have mild enough winters, but there isn't a huge amount of daylight. And we do feel that, because when summer approaches, everyone's out walking, but we don't.
No, we don't embrace
as active as we should be.
We're just such a funny country, I think, in terms of we don't embrace what we have at our door. So it's always, if you live in a different country, actually the weather would be so much better. But actually Ireland is so great, and we just need to change our perspective. So I suppose some of the tips today are not so much geared towards people who suffer maybe chronic SAD, but just for every single one of us who feels, okay, actually I need to change my perspective on winter and autumn.
Lifting our spirits maybe.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so be positive is your first tip.
Yeah, so be positive. So I guess I'll run through these really quickly, but I guess if you practice gratitude is what I mean by positivity, and I'll give you a few tips on that. But if you kind of focus on the negative, you're going to feel negative. So that's what I mean by try to focus on the positive, feel positive. Trying new things, that's just in terms of, exercise really is the ultimate way to defy depression. So I'll talk about that. Also eating well, so good food equals good mood. Plan and try new routines. So often we can get stressed in winter, we can feel like we don't have a plan, we don't know where we're going. And accept your emotions. So when I say that, I just mean kind of allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Not every day is going to be good. So if we go back to being positive, people often say to me, well, how do I practice gratitude? And we've really heard about gratitude journals at this stage.
Yeah.
So this doesn't have to be anything special. You just get a notepad, and either at the start of the day or the end of the day, you can list 3 things that you're grateful for. I'd actually suggest spending just 3 minutes on one good experience from the day. So relive it, write it just for a paragraph. doesn't have to be anything creative, but you're basically programming your mind to sort of relive that positive experience. And then you start to look out for it day by day. And that's how you practice gratitude, because you train your brain to sort of look for what you want to write about later. So that's the first one.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head there, not to linger too long on it, but practicing gratitude sounds a bit airy-fairy.
Yeah.
And then when you break it down to, like I would say to the boys at night, what was the best thing about today? And they'd relive a story of someone being naughty in the classroom, and we're all giggling and laughing about it, and all of a sudden you're reliving the enjoyment of that moment. Well, for him.
And you're also helping them, like that, pick what was great about their day, so they're not focusing maybe on the negative. So I suppose another thing is, well, like Ireland is so great for so many different activities. If you try new things, so you say to yourself, it's a new season, it's a new me. It's not just a new year, a new you in January. You can try it anytime. The surfers will kill me for saying this because they don't want people crashing on their waves. But Ireland is so good for surfing in the winter. So join a club or do something different. Volunteer your time, even soup runs. Depression is defeated through volunteering, and like known statistics on that. So if you give of yourself. So just try to, again, embrace something different and try something new.
And I think society dictates as well. I absolutely loathe the term bikini bod, but we are bombarded in January, February. Get your body, get fit in time for summer. And then September comes along. It's like, you know what, don't worry about it, because you're wrapping up and no one will see you.
I know.
I have to say on that note, changing a routine to me would be really important. Went to the gym the other night, and it was cold, it was a horrible night, and I decided I'd go at the last minute, and I was a bit disgusted, but I went anyway. And there were hundreds of people outside on the pitches, and it was so good to see.
Yeah,
you know,
so nice.
Just between soccer training and boot camp, and these go on all year round. So just because it's not in our sort of mindset to go, doesn't mean that the opportunities aren't there.
It's not happening, absolutely. And also try to get your exposure to light. So we have this attitude. I mean, we aren't actually as dark as country as we think. We're not quite as far in the northern hemisphere. But actually, if you get up early and if you enjoy it and drink less, maybe you can actually get out and get that exposure to light that you need in terms of, you know, the whole melatonin and chemical imbalance. With eating well as well, I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, but obviously good food equals good mood. And we know things like, you know, good fats, vegetables, even chili and things like folic acid are being proven to show that it actually improves your mood. So get the veg in and you'll get less flus and you'll feel happier in yourself in general. And also with the new routines, so people often say, gosh, it comes to September and there's school runs, how do I get into a new routine? But actually just allow yourself to get a plan together about the day and reward yourself as well, and try to delay gratification. So sometimes people, you know, get into the day and they can't get started. Do the thing that you hate the most first. Get it over with.
Get it over and done with.
Yes.
Where can people get all the tips? Because we haven't got time to go through all of the rest of them.
Silverlinings.ie.
Silverlinings.ie. Sinead, thank you very much as always.
I'll see you this week.
Now, yes, you will.